so tired of living scared. I have to do something for me. I can't take the pressure, but I have to. No one will live my life for me. I need to know I'm better than this, that no one person who wronged me broke me. I was once a strong man, taking on everything in my path. When you took my daughter, you broke all I had. With that one action, you got my reaction. I threw my hands in the air, you quit. I try to pull myself together every day. I can't begin to rebuild because I'm so lost. I don't know how to get back the feeling, the one they stole that day. I was viewed as the protector, the strong and wise man to take control. I was put on a pedestal every day. When they took my daughter, they took all that away. I was the rock for my family. I made their dreams into reality. It was always up to me. Now my dreams are nightmares that I can't
The children
wake
in
up.
our country are being made to be the victim of a situation they are not involved, and then sent to a foster home where they again are reintroduced to trauma of being the oddball. Our courts are contaminated with young, inexperienced caseworkers and polluted with bribes, high-priced bonuses for speedy adoption of terminated parents, and judges who don't practice law with the Constitution in their sights. This is a problem. George Washington never thought of children as pawn in the game of freedom and American values, and never had he wanted to sell them. They were from his maker, his creator. Our children are being run down for no other reason than the profits being made in some way. Somehow these government agencies make money hand over fist day in and day out. They have you go to classes that they are billing for, and there is no viable reason for you to attend. Yet when you hear an update, CPS tells you that you're further away from when you started. Reunification is your goal, not theirs. And after you go through 12+ months of grueling, painstaking classes and meetings, all while getting the slimmest amount of time to visit your child, and even worst, you are always supervised, never alone again with your child. It's awful. How do they feel, do you think?
Where's the outrage? Why is nobody standing up for these families being torn apart by CPS?
Please don't tell me you're going to put all your bets on this superhero. You grown-ups are supposed to be coming to his rescue. Stop ignoring this problem. There is nothing more I can say to any of you. Please fight CPS and help those who have lost so much they can help themselves.
We're on. All right, everybody, what's going on? This is Tiff and the Punisher Show. Hopefully that music played for you guys when we were coming on there. I'm not sure if it did or not, but if I couldn't hear it here, so I have to check into that. Hopefully it did, because we're trying to tighten up things here. But tonight, guys, I apologize. We will not have Tiff with us as usual. Tonight, though, I do have a very, very special guest of mine, good friend of ours here at the show, and hell of a freedom fighter, Mr. Gunner. How we doing, my friend?
Well, who are we going to piss off today?
Yes, sir.
I am now permanently banned from TikTok.
You are banned from TikTok.
100 can't even get a new account or not a damn thing for putting out the truth.
Are you serious? They've absolutely 100% taken you
today. I am now.
You are gone. No TikTok
platform for misinformation.
Wow. I didn't even think that was a real thing, buddy. To be perfectly honest.
It is. The question is now, you realize this adds to our federal lawsuit, because once it's proved in a court of law that it's not, and then you were removed, that's a lawsuit. Defamation of character.
Yeah. So will it fall under those guidelines of defamation of character, even though
it was verifiable and everything else? I mean, that was the thing. I just got the answer back from the appeal process, and I'm like, listen, this is published, well-known information, everything else out there, everything's put on there, even the disclaimers for educational purposes only, and go through there. How is it misinformation when it's going on all over everywhere, and TikTok is full of CPS corruption, child trafficking, and the whole 9 yards? And it goes to show you how deep this corruption goes within these states and these judges that are now, hey, I want to get something in a state, I'm going to get a court order to suppress that or remove that for, that's not true content. Because why? It's the party line. When you expose the party line of being a lie, and you're covering over of basically, listen, man, you're polishing the turd, so to speak, of saying, oh, we're not that, we're not doing that, we're legit. Look, we're with the state. Hey, we're with the government. We can't do something wrong or illegal. That would be just unethical for us. Well, why did the Chevron doctrine then get passed, and why did all the corrupt shit come out with the we could show a timeline where the Chevron doctrine did, and then you could see the change over time in every state, even in their policies and procedures, even within the police departments. It used to be they just left you the hell alone. You got to remember, we're old enough to remember what it was like to actually have before these things were really big. They never bothered nobody. I've never dealt with CPS or anything else unless there's somebody that dealt with them, with somebody that
were. Criminal case. What it was. Not a damn clue what CPS was.
Yeah, you want to go through something, let's have a conversation, and I'll prove it in a court of law that you have policies and procedures and codes in every single state that are unconstitutional. With this new administration and everything else, the exposure of it is we need to be demanding from our state people, as we the people, as we are the government, to hold our elected and appointed officials and actors accountable that are representing us in our state government, of saying, whoa, wait a minute. So the people coming in, we elect, the thing that needs to be coming out of their mouth is lining back up with the Constitution and going over all of our laws, policies, and procedure to make sure that they're constitutional. And they go through case law. Why this is not done, why the states have been lazy and negligent. This is a word that we're going to throw around. That's a legal term, negligence. To not do what they're supposed to do, which is respect the Constitution and the supremacy clause of the Constitution when they write these codes, policies, and procedures. That is the ultimate law of the land, that this is not up for discussion. The fact that we have organizations and people out there challenging the Constitution of these inalienable God-given rights is disgusting. You got to understand, that's a sense of evil if you've got to question that. And this is how far CPS goes, to where they had to go before the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court panel, to argue Why can't we hire actors, paid actors, to go into court? Why? Because they understand their role. We are only government actors. That's where it comes down to, is we're just actors or representatives. That's not who we are. So when you have that terminology, you realize that there is an actors guild union in California.
I just want to read this right here. Okay, tell me if you know what this is. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's the First Amendment of the United States Constitution.
Well, why would they want you to know your constitutional rights, Darren?
Right.
That means they couldn't get away with their shit. If every person out there was educated, truly educated, on what your rights were, do you think you would be getting away with it?
Let me read this again. To petition the government for a redress of grievances. That means it is not only your right to speak out against the government, it is your moral duty to do so as a citizen of the United States. If you see that your government is doing wrong, to call them out on it. This is not your First Amendment right. It is your duty as a citizen of the United States of America. And we're being punished for doing what our First Amendment not only allows us to do, but it demands it of us. Can you believe that?
I absolutely believe it. I believe that the biggest issue everybody else has, though, is we're worried about gross domestic product and how we look to other countries, because we're standing on a world stage and we don't want to look bad. So we want to have money, and when we don't have something to really trade other than labor units, which is why you have a social security card, because your labor is now profitable. It's tradable. It's guaranteeing that, which is why the Industrial Revolution had both good and bad sides, because now you had an ability or an option to say these are commodities for a business or a corporation. And that's the way you're looked at by the courts, especially in these state courts. Why? Because the only thing they deal with is codes and statutes. All codes, statutes, regulations, and everything else is for government only. In other words, it's for those that serve. It's their guidelines that they shouldn't break, is what that's talking about. And it doesn't apply. It's for government only. Why? It doesn't apply to the people. And it gave the reason why. Because it lacks due process. In anything in a state court, there's no due process. They're not doing it right. If it was due process, then you would make sure the questions that needed to be asked in the jurisdiction it would ask, it needs to get there. But why are the lower courts holding on to it? Because they want a sense of power when they have absolutely none. Why? Because they're all subservient to the federal courts and to the Constitution. That's what they don't want you to realize. They want you to keep spending money in your state.
Right. But isn't it such a waste of time? Like, think about the waste of time that this has got to go through the court system now, for you to have to now go to a bigger court, which I think it's kind of funny. It's like, hey, little brother, I got to go see your big brother now because you can't do the job you're supposed to do. You know, I'm going
to go tell Big Brother that you've been snatching and stealing candy out of his candy jar, and you've been doing it illegally, which is what they're doing. How do you think that's going to happen when the federal government starts turning on the states of violating those states? And those people have got to be removed. That's the whole point of, like I said, filing it.
You're supposed to be a big bad judge and respectable and all this, and you got to go up and see Big Brother over here to straighten you out and turn you in. You would think these lower courts would be respectable and be like, no, I want to be like Big Brother. I don't want them to have to rule on what I'm ruling on.
Exactly.
I want to do the right thing, and they don't. And it's awful. It's disgusting.
Well, and that's how they work their way up to the courts. I mean, when they have that federal license and they get into that federal courtroom, that's how they move up to judges, or they're appointed because of the way they handle things, or making the attorneys, holding the judges accountable, and making sure the Constitution was followed. Those then get recommended to be lower or district court judges. They get nominated, and they're done by the president. So some of that, you've really got to watch a lot of nominations, and then it goes to Congress and everything. I mean, they're very, very well vetted. But one of the best things that they have there is they get a salary. That salary, it's there for life. It's guaranteed for life, whether they're serving or not serving. They get that paycheck every month. Every federal judge does. There's no incentive whatsoever for them to rule one way or another. In other words, they took the ability for influencing a judge with money, as the state courts and family courts do, because you say, well, they don't get money. That's a lie. Look into child support. Those administrative fees, they go into the judges' retirement funds. Now imagine emptying all those judges' retirement funds across every state, and now goes back to the people. You shouldn't have had that. Either you're appointed and the governor can take and guarantee that you're on this for life, and this is your paycheck. You don't get any bonuses. You don't get any retirement fund. It's not determined on how many cases you see or how you rule or how you get people caught up in the system to keep draining their money. Why? Because the money has to come from somewhere is the point. And when we quit paying and you start withholding your stuff, what are they going to do?
You know what? You know where that money comes from? Our children. Children that this government takes, puts into the custody of God knows who, gets that
and
money.
Listen, I guarantee you, and you watch what I'm saying here, Darren, eventually, we're going to have an AI judge for all state stuff to eliminate all that.
We should. And we should. Absolutely, we should. Because if they've taken the law, they've already taken the law out of these courts. They already have, so why not take the emotion out of it and put the law back into it? Because
Matter of fact,
all supposed to be ruled by the law, by the book, by the way it's supposed to be.
That's what you and I were talking about, that when you take and a judge says something, and that's why I say you guys are there gathering evidence. In my particular case, the civil court judge actually came out before we got started and actually said and addressed everybody in the courtroom and said, during my case, I just to let you all know the way this is going to go, kind of laying out the ground rules. And even turn around and then begin to say, listen, I'm watching you and I'm going to look at your body language and how you think and how you react and all that other stuff. And I don't want outbursts, but that is going to take into be part of the determination on how I rule and set it on the fucking record. Well, come to find out, according to the rules, one of the rules they cannot break for judges and or magistrates or anybody that sits in that position is it has to be about the law only and not about emotion and not about their feelings and not about how they think or feel. It's where the facts take them. There's the problem with human error and these things of judging over somebody else, because your feelings get involved. You may have big feelings or you may have a personal experience that something in that case will trigger you to bias that judge. That's the part of the human error with it. And that's not fair. And part of what it was saying is, and we're in the day and age nowadays, it's all about feelings, it's not about facts. And I love the saying that came out, facts don't give a shit about your feelings, because they don't care how you feel. Those are just the facts. And here's the other thing. If you think that there's no such thing as that, stop that sun from coming up. Let me see you stand out in the ocean and hold the tide back. These are things that are absolutes in our worlds. And that's what they're saying about the Constitution. These are God-given absolutes in this country and the way that everything operates in this country. But it's not being followed because corruption got in. Part of our Constitution gives us the leniency, as we the people have written the contract, that it even says if it becomes toxic, those people that are serving in government becomes toxic. It not only becomes our right, it becomes our duty to remove those people and institute new elections and a new form of elected and appointed officials. The Constitution's already accounted for human error. We just have to utilize the Constitution, which is what's getting ready to happen. And what a lot of people don't realize, there's a lot of pink slips coming at the end of January. A whole lot.
Yeah, there is.
Now, what are you going to do? Now you ain't got no job. But you understand, too, a lot of this comes down to you ain't got no job, you ain't got nothing. I said something to somebody the other day about, listen, why does it do it this way? I said, listen, if you file for federal change of jurisdiction, like in this, and you say, listen, I have constitutional issues that weren't addressed in the lower courts. Matter of fact, they breezed over them. That's a violation of that judge's or magistrate's oath to rush to the aid to the integrity of the Constitution. That alone is against their oath. They should have known this is a question that it directly affects the case. That's why you're sitting there. We need to get advice from the higher court or get a ruling on this before we can move forward. That is a good judge, because my jurisdiction ends here. Instead, you get answers of, we don't deal with that in that courtroom. Well, if you're aware you don't deal with it in the courtroom, then you need to change jurisdiction and get that answers, because it's extremely pertinent to this case. But to keep going is a criminal act itself. That's the point. That's what we're getting through to people. How many people in the majority that deal with CPS has had a Fourth Amendment violation of coming into your home with no warrant, court order, or emergency? I mean, that's the biggest thing. And then the biggest thing I think that they wanted to do, like I said, we needed to probably schedule a show for that, and we'll talk about it briefly here, is case law. You don't know, people, even lawyers are that damn dumb. I'm not kidding you. I mean, it blew my mind when I said something about SEC versus Jarsky is a huge Seventh Amendment pivotal case that deals with juries and jury trials. And they're like, well, that has to do with this and this and that. And guess what? And Roe versus Wade had nothing to do with abortion, but see how they read things into it off of those rulings. There's a reason why. It's called the summation. When you get a judge's decision, you're going to get a summary of it. You're going to get the ruling. And this is how you read some of this, guys, so you understand. It's what's in the summation, or basically it's the train of thought that the judge came up to for the decisions he made. That's what it comes down to. It even goes into the train of thought or the intent of that. You can't come around. That's why it's saying that the intent of entering into your home, you have to make the first action to call CPS, come to my home, I need your help. That's called intent. Anything else of them showing up, of doing anything, doesn't have a right into your home, and it doesn't fucking matter. And it takes a first person experience to go through it. Here's the other thing. You're not facing another person, you're facing the state, and the state cannot be an injured party in any case. So how the hell is the state against me? There's the other problem. See where I'm going? This is a compound problem. We'll just ignore it. Why? We're professionals. And believe it or not, I believe some of that too, Darren, is the Rooker versus Feldman case. That one thing I'd love to challenge, especially moving forward with that too, that we're going to challenge, is the inability of dealing with family courts. Why does the Constitution not apply to family courts? Because that's the way it's being used in the family courts, or not deferring to the federal courts on federal decisions. You're allowing this infrastructure, or this thing with the evidence we have, to commit constitutional crimes and getting paid by the state, using state and federal tax funds to do these acts of criminal activity and felonies. So now what are you going to do? And there's going to be a lot of people, well, we're here to help children. Well, guess what? You're going to prison for helping those children the way you did by coming into the house. There's, regardless of whether or not you knew it and you did it willingly, or you didn't realize you were committing it, does not negate your obligation for the crimes you've committed. I don't give a shit how much you cry, whine. I was just doing my job. That court ain't going to care.
Right.
You broke the Constitution. You broke the law, the real law. State don't have laws, codes and statutes. Because if the Constitution is the Supreme Court of the land, if you look at your state's Constitution, they all defer to it. That the Constitution is it. If that's true, how are you able to do any of the things you're doing? Because we've allowed it.
Right.
We haven't used everything in our arsenal, such as, yes, we're doing that for, we're doing it through the court system, we're doing it through that, but the ultimate thing, if it's happening in the midst of doing things and you're in the right, you got to stand up for what's right. And if sometimes that means, that's what the Second Amendment's for. When somebody forces their way into something to violate your rights, you have the legal right under the Constitution, under the Second Amendment, to defend yourself, whether it's against government or an invading force. That's there to protect you. Yes, you may have to answer a few questions in court, but as soon as you claim the right thing, or they try to file something, well, I'm doing a change of jurisdiction. Why? Because you don't have the ability to make that decision. Why? Because it's a federal issue. We're going to get some federal stuff. Absolutely, Tammy. Critical thinking is out the door. I just had a conversation with my friend earlier today that, watching a lot of things go on. We've watched this go on in our lifetime of the slow erosion of things, and we're over here shaking our heads. It's like, you guys are going to pay for that. I'm glad you're entertained and you got the new football jersey, or you got the new game, or you got this and that, but your rights and your children are now being stolen. You've been entertained. You've now swapped that iPhone for your children.
Yeah, as long as you're not paying attention to what's really going on the news and what's really happening in the world, you're doing just fine. Make sure you pay attention to who's the quarterback in your favorite football.
You know why?
Yes, you're not paying attention to what's going on. The newscast is instead of talking about what's really happening.
Yeah. It's because they don't care.
Right. It's smoke and mirrors, man. They don't want you to see what's happening in the real world.
They come with a false flag. You know else who came with a false flag? To here we're here for the children. We're here to protect the children and all that other shit. Little man named Adolf Hitler, World War II, baby. You better look at it. Stalin. They used the children. This is the same thing. This is Project Paperclip bleeding out. And it's getting ready to die.
Oh, you hope so. Any of that stuff, you know?
I think we're in for about a couple of years of hard facts and pulling back the curtain. And like they were saying, there's a lot of stuff that the FBI was redacting, over 50% of it that even testified before Congress. We're over redacting things, you know. We're not giving information unless it's true national security. The people have a right to the information, and they've been hiding it.
You know, it's pretty. This is I'm looking up here to see what's going on here. But you know who the Dropkick Murphys are, right?
Refresh my memory.
So they're from Boston. But they do, you know, Irish music, you know, Dropkick Murphys, you know, Irish shakes, all that good stuff. They did that song "Shipping Up to Boston" and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, check this out. They did this song called "The State of Massachusetts." Okay. Now this song was done, Jesus Almighty. Let me see how long ago here. 16 years ago. Okay. Now I'm just gonna play just a little clip of this because I want you guys to hear. Now this is people in high places at that point in time, with people that spread their message and their words 16 years ago, right? Trying to get the word out there about. They're not talking about the state of Massachusetts. They're talking about the state of Massachusetts. But I want you guys to listen to this, and I bet you've all heard the song. But you've never listened to it in the way that you're about to hear it. So hold on 1 second. Check this out.
Do you want to learn how we took a brand new company to 1.3 million in ARR in just 90 days? And how we did it with absolutely...
Well, there's your commercial.
That's 16 years ago, man. 16 years ago. The Dropkick Murphys are out there complaining about the system of Massachusetts, one of the biggest bands of all times. And still to this day, the same things are happening. Same things. So maybe it is going to take artificial intelligence to come in and start ruling this way. Or just going to take time. It's not going to take time. It is time for everybody to step it up a little bit in their pursuit of what needs to be done to handle this. Because why are we still?
We spend more time, especially with lawyers and everything. I mean, you're going through law school. How much time do you spend on federal or constitutional law or federal law or half the other things when you start getting into your own states? Testing for your state license type things and everything else. You spend more time dealing with those particular things. You have 1 or 2 classes that are on federal for most of these attorneys. Even they go through one constitutional class 1,
right?
But the rest of it's on the depth of policies, procedures, contract law, this law, that law,
all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But
isn't that funny? The basis of our legal system is the Constitution.
Well, that's why there's a big divide between the idea of attorneys was to spend more time dealing with commerce or commercial law. That's why it is what it is, because it's corporate law. That's why it's so large. But once again, corporate lawyers should have no business involved applying corporation law or corporation procedures or policies, corporation ones that are unconstitutional. That's still the rule of thumb. Even though you're a business, your policies and procedures can't be unconstitutional. In other words, yeah, you can still make those contracts, but that's like taking out a contract to put a hit on somebody. It's still a contract. It's not going to be dealt with in court if it doesn't come through, type thing. So that's why a lot of that stuff's backroom and this and that, but they're still considered contracts. Money or items exchange hands, whatever it may be. Which when you realize you're supplying children, and here was I went down another rabbit hole, Darren, and this one it's hard to swallow. Did you know that we are the #1 country in all of the world that loses more children through CPS, not just double, not just triple, but over 10 times misplaced children caught up in child trafficking happens in this country than any other country in the world?
Hell yeah. That goes along, that stat that I tell all the time. I don't know about the number that you just kicked out, but I will tell you it absolutely matches, or in my math head, 74%. I'm sorry, I might be wrong. It's either 74 or 84% of the children that are rescued from human trafficking throughout the world.
CPS right here in the United States.
CPS right through here in the United States.
Yep, that's where they went and came from.
So I absolutely can see what you would say 10 times the amount. Absolutely. That's
our children are being trafficked all over the world. This is not a joke. We think that we're the ones consuming it and we're having people shipped here from the Orient or this or that. You got to understand that's an import business. There's also an export business. And when you have things like natural disasters that happen, like over in North Carolina, those children are now declared dead or missing. Those type of things. So, Darren, let me catch this call real quick. Go ahead and guess a second.
Yeah. So check this out, people. I'm while Gunner's taking this call. I'm gonna take this for a reins for a minute. Now I just totally forgot what I was gonna say. So yeah, I got a little homework for all of you guys out there that are watching. Right, what I want you to do is, if you guys think that this is BS or whatever, I challenge you always, as I always do, look up the information yourselves. Find it yourselves, because we're not lying. We're not spreading misinformation. We're not spreading any of that. But what you need to do is go online, look up for your state, and then put it down here in the comments, what you guys look up there. Go out, look up your states, your comments. Put it in the comments right below us here, and find out how many kids are missing between foster age and adoption. Because what you're going to find is that there's a gap where there's an amount of missing children that you'll see.
Huge.
Every state will have it. So from the amount of children from foster care to adoption, go ahead and look right on your state websites. It'll all be right there for you. And put down here in the comments in the bottom here, put how many kids are missing in your state. Please do that, and you will be overwhelmed and just beside yourself when you see, if everybody does this and everybody pitches in, you can see the amount of kids that are missing. And don't forget, this isn't just a one-time shot. This is a recycled number of year after year after year, with an increase of 4%.
Now listen, it's not just about now, let's make something clear. It's not just about things of sexual deviance for these children. Okay, you're looking at organ harvesting. Okay, you're looking at children that have, once again, some of the drugs with the adrenochrome and some of the other things that they've come out with, that they know adrenochrome is a real thing. It is a patented, listed, particular type of drug, as we'll say. How it's obtained is extremely illegal, but it's a black market traded thing. You start scaring little kids are the easiest to scare. They have less experience with traumatic things.
Hello, Monsters Inc.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Monsters Inc?
Yeah.
How do they power up the city?
With fear.
Screams of the little kids.
Screams.
That's what it's all about, is scaring these kids, boxing them up.
My boy says in South Carolina they have 28,886 so far missing in their state.
Man.
But wait a minute. Aren't you the ones that are there to protect the children? Where the fuck are the children, motherfucker? And why are we not holding them accountable? There's the biggest question we have now. Why is our elected appointed officials should have things like in place for not child trafficking? We have a bunch of laws for child trafficking, and they're attacking the people. What about the administration and the fostering people and all these other things? That many kids missing, and probably and 210 up for adoption in South Carolina. Missing that.
Let me tell you something. We have 2 adult cats that just had 7 kittens, okay? Now, I don't know if any of you have ever had cats before. I never have before this. But it's hard as hell to keep track of 2, let alone 7. All right? We've done this for 3 months now. We've had 9 cats. Do you know how many we've lost? 0. None. Why? Because we pay attention. Because it's pretty freaking hard, unless you're doing it on purpose, to lose a life. You don't just, oh, whoops, where did Joe and Eddie and Charlotte go? I don't know. Okay, tomorrow. You don't. Come on. This is clearly being done intentionally. You don't lose that many kids.
How it got passed, and I get how it did. It came out of fear of giving, and this is the sunshine thing, and they'll even show you like this movie. Some of the things my wife, like I said, went through a lot of it too. Was there's a movie called From Darkness into Light or something, and it deals with all the dark side of everything. And all these caseworkers, that's all they're shown. They're not showing a family that just is struggling a little bit. It's always worst case fucking scenario. It never deals with, well, what is and this goes to the core of it too. What if it's something they pick up from school? What if it's something that's picked up from what they're seeing? I mean, really, you protect your kids the best you can, but shit still gets in. You never know where they see it. You go out in public, you're wide open to them seeing everything. Now, should your kids never leave the house? No. We prepare them to live in this corrupt, fucked up world that we all deal with, but we don't expect that in our homes. We try to protect it in our home. It's supposed to be our safe place, and it's not our safe place anymore. Why? Because now they're saying they have the right to come into your safe place, your home, and cause chaos to the most sacred thing you have is marriage, family, and children, and everything else. What gives you the right to come in? Well, I'm from the government, and I don't feel that you're doing things the right way. The very essence of that is unconstitutional. You heard what Darren read earlier. These are my freedoms of speech. These are my freedoms to this. I have a right to live. I have a right not to be bothered by CPS, the state, or the government, unless I've broken a law, committed a crime. Have I committed bodily injury to somebody? Or have I broken a contract? Or have I taken somebody's life or something like that and ended their constitutional rights? Those are the only reasons you're supposed to be able to drag me into court. Otherwise, Even under the constitutions, I'm going to tell you the same thing that it's going to tell you now. Fuck off. The Constitution tells you to fuck off. I don't care what you feel. I don't care what this. There's the beauty of your belief system versus my belief system. The Constitution guarantees you can't force
Oh,
beliefs on me.
oh, look at this. Check this. 1 hour ago. Holy smokes. Wait till you see this, what I just found.
Ooh.
Oh boy. Hot off the press, seeing it here first, people, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Share here. Check
Well,
this
I
out.
got
Kids for cash victims react after Biden commutes sentence for. I don't even need to see the rest. Let's take a look, guys.
Hey, you see the headlines right now? They're going
Commercial.
wacko. Office,
God damn it.
apartments,
We need to get the
hotels.
premium back on.
Breaking news coming out of Luzerne County today. President Biden commuted the sentence of disgraced Luzerne County Kids for Cash Judge Michael Conahan.
Conahan and fellow Judge Mark Chivarella were convicted in connection with that scheme that sent thousands of juveniles to 2 private detention centers in exchange for millions in kickbacks. 2822 News I-Team reporter Andy Mahalchik has been covering the Kids for Cash scandal
This
since
is
day
why
one.
they should
Andy's
never
live in
deal
studio.
with
What did we
children.
learn today, Andy?
Nobody
Well, good evening,
should
Nick
with
and
their own
Kaz. I
family.
spoke with a victim of the Kids for Cash scheme. She is very angry and says this clemency for Conahan is simply wrong and an injustice.
Why is it that national
Just
news?
Conahan, did you want to say anything about the guilty plea today
Right.
to the taxpayers in Luzerne County?
I don't have a comment right now, Andy.
It's a big smack in the face
Don't
for
we
us
know
once
somebody in
again.
Luzerne?
The words of Kids for Cash victim Amanda Laura after hearing that President Biden commuted the sentence of disgraced Luzerne County Judge Michael Conahan.
We had no time to get any time taken away from us. We had nobody to write to talk to. But now we're talking about the President of the United States to do this. What about all of us?
Laura was one of thousands of juveniles who were wrongly imprisoned as part of the Kids for Cash scheme that involved Conahan and fellow Judge Mark Chivarella. They received $2 million in kickbacks in exchange for sending juveniles to 2 private detention centers in which they had a business interest. The scandal gained national attention. He and former
That's
Judge
federal
Michael Conahan
funds,
entered a
people.
plea
That's
agreement to
federal funds
basically
they're
one
getting. That's
corruption
Social
charge.
Security.
Chivarella was convicted in 2011 on 12 of 39 counts and sentenced to 28 years in prison. In 2010, Conahan pled guilty to 1 count of racketeering conspiracy and was sentenced to 17 and a half years in prison. He was released to home confinement in 2020 because of COVID-19 health concerns. Now, Amanda Laura was sent to detention for 5 years for simply being involved in a fight at a high school volleyball game.
So he wants to talk about with Conahan and everybody else. But what is Joe Biden doing for all of these kids that absolutely got nothing and almost no justice from this whole thing that happened? So it's nothing for us, but it seems that Conahan's just getting a slap on the wrist every which way he possibly could, still today.
The White House released a statement on the commutation for nonviolent offenders, which read in part, these commutation recipients who were placed on home confinement during the COVID pandemic have successfully reintegrated into their families and communities and have shown that they deserve a second chance.
Wow.
But Laura says she and other juveniles were never given a second chance.
Yeah.
There's
what
never
about
going to be
those
any
kids?
closure for us, Andy.
Nope.
There's never going to be somehow, some way. These 2 men are always going to pop up. But now when you think about a president of the United States letting him get away with this, who even wants to live in this country at this point?
Yeah.
I'm totally sickened. I just can't even believe this.
Now, this means the 2 years or so that remains on Conahan's home confinement now goes away. Our attempts to contact Conahan for comment have so far been unsuccessful. Nick and Kaz back.
So I got, listen, check this. I got the perfect, I can't
Wow.
believe this. But if anybody wants to tell me any more that I'm wrong and what I'm, my shirt's right here. Hold on a minute. Oh man, I don't have it right here. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up. Continue on with this. I have a shirt that fits this perfect, and everybody always tells me I'm going too extreme. I'm too much on this one. But if this just don't say it right here, hold on, give me 1 second. I gotta remember where the hell I have it.
Wow. All because they want a new boat, a bigger house, fancier cars, a bigger thing in society. This is what your children are being sold for. Shit. Shit.
Yeah.
Basically, it's all shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're trading this because the value of a human life means less to them than anything else. Why don't you turn the tables and do the same thing to their own fucking children and see how this motherfucker likes it? Oh, of course he got comfortable back at his home and he wants another chance. You just gave him his fucking freedom after being incarcerated. Of course he's going to get I don't want to go back.
Yeah, what are these poor little kids that never ever again will have their feelings
that
feeling
that part right there shows you that the White House itself is directly connected with child trafficking. 100%. You can't convince me otherwise. Why? You wouldn't pardon somebody that was making millions. Well, nobody was injured directly. He was just See, now there's a set of rules for you and a set of rules.
Yeah, they're fine. Right. There's fine for them, right? No one was injured in their situation, which none of our children that were taken from us were ever injured either, right? Why can't we use that for us? Why can't we apply that to our findings? No one was ever injured, so we don't deserve. Maybe we can. Maybe this is a help to us.
Yeah.
Maybe this is. Maybe this is a like a diamond in disguise here. Maybe we can go back and somehow
again, everything goes with, and this is what I try to tell everybody. Everything is perspective. When you go into a room, nobody knows anything. They may have a little foreshadowing and anything else. It's the perspective. When you change the perspective, and there's great spin doctors, which is why a lot of people will tell you, and a lot of people deal with CPS stuff that don't talk to them at all. Why? Because you could say something, they could spin as it being bad to a judge, a court, or anything to justify what they do. There's part of another thing of their existence. This is a violation of due process. Why? Because I have a right to remain silent and not give you any information whatsoever. Let me tell you something too, that applies to your kids. Where's their Fifth Amendment that was violated when you questioned them without an attorney? You realize you violated that child's constitutional rights when you took them in to a forensic interview without an attorney being present for that child. That is a criminal act. That's a violation of due process for those children. And you'll notice what he was involved in was something similar to that, either the detention center that was privately functioned and everything else, getting government fucking money and all this other stuff. These things don't need to exist, okay? If you don't have a religion that goes with it and you can stick with it because there's a lot of religious principles and things, that's your particular choice. But once again, if you don't have one, leave these fucking kids alone. And here I want you're causing more problems, both short-term CPS, with what they do, both short-term and long-term, the amount of damage that's being done. And the only question you can turn around and you have to show them, well, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And your caseworkers are on there, well, I'm not doing things to harm children. Actually, when you violated our constitutional rights, not only did you harm me, you harmed my children and you violated their rights. So no, actually, you did a felony when you're out here searching for something that it's not even a felony. You're committing felonies to try and steal my children is basically what it comes down to under federal law. And that's what's happening. You can't legally do it under the color of law, fruit from a poisonous tree. As soon as you enter my home illegally, that was your first act or encounter, your whole case goes away. Because you take it to a federal jurisdiction and go, Your Honor, I didn't let them in. They didn't have a warrant or anything else. And we're getting ready to find out within our particular thing that we're working on, Darren. We're going to get that answer from a federal judge, aren't we?
Damn right we are. Damn right we are.
We're going to find out if it comes down to he said, she said, which is what they'll do. They'll say, well, she gave me permission to come in, or he gave me permission to come in. And that person's saying, I never gave permission, nor did I sign my rights away. You realize also when you go, you're interrogated on a criminal side, you still have rights the same way as civil. So if you're going to waive your right to an attorney, you have to have so many witnesses there, and you have to sign away your rights to do so, to talk to the police. You have to sign your rights away. It's a form of legal documentation. They can say, a lot of them say with modern technology, all I have to do is record you saying it. Some places allow that. But the point is you're not. You violated my rights. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to sit down. I don't have to defend myself. Why? Because it's up to the state or whatever to determine, it's their job to build the case. But the problem is, which is a conflict of interest, you have employees of the state that are both judges and or DAs or anything else. You both work for the same thing. That's a conflict of interest. That judge or whatever is not impartial. Why? Their paycheck comes from the county or the state. They're subject to it, which is why the federal does it right. And this is your lifetime. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go down. You still get, no matter how you decide your cases or anything else that's before you, doesn't affect your paycheck. That doesn't happen on a state level. It's all profit. If you go to criminal court, they get money off of it through Social Security. They drain you. You go into an incarceration, which is privately, most of the time, it's privately owned. And what do you mean privately owned? I mean other corporations own it. Your local sheriff's department and some of the other stuff, they got a Dun & Bradstreet number. They're a business.
And let me explain to you how this children end up there. So, you got terminated. Your rights were terminated as a parent, right? You have no connection to your child any longer. You don't know where they are, who they're with, what's going on. Your child to you is gone. And that's that. Now this child goes into a short-term foster care living facility. Now they end up sending their child to some family out in Midwest Idaho, where the family takes them for 2 weeks and doesn't like them, then ships your child to somewhere else. At this point now, the people that had the best interests of this child in mind, meaning you, their parents, have no clue where in the world this child is, nor does anybody else. No. So how do you know that this child is missing? You don't. Your child is now stuck up in some establishment somewhere or with some sort of other system. There's no accountability. Once those children get taken from us as parents, there is no longer any accountability or overseers for these children to make sure that they're okay. You don't know. The only people that would know if they were missing are us, and we have not a damn clue. And this is our government doing this to the children. This is our own government doing this to our children.
Because, and here's why. Because they would much rather have a cushy ass job inside with big money, not sweating, not doing this, not breaking their hands, not doing any physical fucking labor to go out there, that it's above them to do this shit to earn an honest fucking living, which is why most blue collar people can't stand those type of people, because you won't get your damn hands dirty.
Right.
And that's the best you can do. That's lazy. As a matter of fact, it's, if anything, it's emasculation itself not to do something, that's paperwork and everything else almost in some aspects in some societies. Wow, you're going to sit around and not do nothing, play the fat cat, point fingers of here and there and think you have control or this or that. No, you hold people accountable. And the preventative maintenance shit that they're doing of, we're trying to prevent something, we're trying to prevent it. Well, then strengthen the families. That's not your thing. The idea is to destroy the families, but they put it on paper like they're there. Well, we're here to help. We're here to help the families. We're here to do this. Then why can't you follow the Constitution?
Why don't you keep the family together if you're here to support?
It's supposed to on paper, and the way it looks and the way they put themselves out to the public. That's what they do. They save children from bad situations or this and that they deem illegible or anything else of this and that. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we live in a socialist society? Because in America, I can choose to live as poor as I want. Matter of fact, I can make a choice as an adult to go live on the fucking streets and not be part of your society.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't hold me accountable. There's no law saying that I have to. There's no law saying I have to have a job. There's no law saying I have to this or this or that. So long as I'm not hurting anybody, killing anybody, inflicting bodily harm on anybody or anybody's property, you got no right to fucking deal with me, because I'm not engaged in anything commercial. Therefore, your jurisdiction stops with all of that. But you won't leave these damn people alone. And you're not giving them help. You know how many people are, just look at California alone. You could see when the money ran out and they let all the people out of the sanitariums, and clear those out and put them out on the street. Why? Because it's warm there. You can live outdoors year round, and it's not considered detrimental. Now they're loose on the street all over California. You can't walk on the amount of crazy. Portland was doing the same thing. I mean, come on, there's parts of California. They'll just drop their pants and poop in the middle of the damn street. You think you were in Haiti? I mean, and then you wonder where society is. Why? Because we're spending the money on the wrong way, and your ideologies of how you're attacking these things or doing these things are not helping. And that's like, the proof of the Department of Education said it was formed in 1978, and it's a fucking joke. I mean, people are calling out, you need to stop this. We need to stop all this federalization. We need it. We should have never went through Commie Core. We call it Commie Core. So I know it was called Common Core, but when you read about who fucking did this shit or who organized and wrote it, the idea was that because the white students or certain schools, especially the white demographics, were too intelligent and there was too much of an educational gap between that and others. And it was like one of those things of saying, so you're going to dumb down the kids rather than smarten up the black kids and the Latino kids and all the other cultures because the white kids are too smart? We got to make the white kids dumber? What the hell?
Yeah. I mean, this is just too much, man.
People from other countries, they're not being fostered, ma'am. As soon as you cross the international line or outside our borders, that is international child trafficking, Miss Brenda. Yeah, let alone if they're in another country, that's illegal as fuck. One, they're an American citizen. I'm sorry, especially if they were born here, they have rights, and as soon as they ship them outside the country, that's a violation of actually every part of them being a citizen. They're not supposed to. Matter of fact, the other problem I have when they ship them across other states, you just lost jurisdiction because you do realize your CPS of whatever state you're in, shipping your child across state lines is a federal offense because there's no jurisdiction and they can't surrender jurisdiction to somebody else with that. That's a huge issue. If the state can't compensate for it or have the thing, we're not doing it. And that's why they want to nationalize this program so they can kick your kids all over the place, which is why they're working on that national database that I've been talking about, because they want to do it. If I have things here, how hard is it to see your children or even maintain a relationship when they put them in foster care over false charges and a bunch of other stuff and then take your children and ship them across from the East Coast to the West Coast? So you're going to go see your children every Tuesday? They're going to put it on the court record that you have the option to go do that, but you don't live there. And if you live there, then the jurisdiction changed, with your court cases back here. They're doing so much illegal shit, it's not even funny. And the problem is the higher ups are just turning a blind eye because they're like, our hands are tied because we've had 40 years worth of fuck ups and other things and shit we knew wasn't right with a lot of people. We're allowing it to happen. We need to do a constitutional audit of every single state policy, procedures, and everything they have. If it doesn't line up, it gets gutted. Bottom line. And if you
it affects children, get rid of that shit too.
Listen,
that's just the facts, man. That's disgusting when they play games with our kids this way.
Well, here's the thing. If you have a deprivation of rights under the color of law, constitutional rights, let alone an enforcement with children, and we're pushing it to that level, is what we're doing is we're asking for them to come in and hold these people on this thing and to include them with child trafficking charges. That's what we're going to push on the criminal side of what we have after the civil case. The big one that we're working on, you guys, that we're getting ready to take her and kind of plow the way, is saying all you motherfuckers are guilty, either by association or something. You did nothing. You condone. I don't care if you just condone and approve the payment. You're still guilty of It's called conspiring. Conspiring to commit a crime. You paid the bills. So there's a lot of that's going on that people are going to have to take and wake the hell up and realize the reason you're so poor, the reason you don't have the money you need to do, is they're robbing you left and right. These government entities. And here's the thing, fuck off. I ain't bothering nobody. I ain't harming nobody. I want to go do my job. Once again, that you have no authority over. Matter of fact, I've got a master's in. You came into my world, I'd be your master. I'd subserve you. You'd be my flunky, my greenhorn. You wouldn't have nothing to do. You wouldn't assume any responsibility. Buck stop would be here. And trust me, you don't want to have that conversation on the other side, because people knew me when I did things electrically and stuff like that. There was no compromise. We're going to do it the right way, or we're not fucking doing it at all. That's exactly what I say. And I've walked away from jobs because people wanted to take shortcuts or bullshit. No, I will not. I will not compromise. That's called integrity, people. No matter what you do, and these people have integrity, but for somebody to say, I'm here to protect all the children, that's a God complex. That's a psychological break in your fucking brain. It ain't none of your fucking business with children. Unless a crime's done, then you heal them afterwards. But preventing this shit, that's illegal. That's unconstitutional. You're innocent until proven guilty. There's the other thing. Why are you disrupting my family? I'm innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Why are you interfering with that? Do you have, unless you have hard evidence, which is why CPS plays in the civil courtroom and tries to put on even criminal charges or anything else, and you end up with criminal stuff in a civil case. It's like, how is that even possible? They're allowed to do that shit. Wow, that's some shit. So I don't get due process, but I get a classification code or anything else, like some people are getting, of criminal things. Wait a minute, but it's not a criminal thing? It's not on your jacket or anything else. The most that CPS can do is they can separate you. It's the only power they have. They can't convict you of any crime. They can't do anything. And when it comes out, there's some other people. I was talking to some other people. Their case turned around and it changed. Matter of fact, Vinny, I hope in the later show is going to give us an update on his case. Huge break in his case. Huge.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Even to the point that if you start going down everything, you got to do your own investigation because they won't do it. Then you find out it's perspective. That didn't fit their narrative, so they're going to leave it out. And when you find those things, especially when you find out the state is covering up federal crimes, you mean we got a real problem? I'll let Vinny talk about that a little bit later. I know he's out there.
He's chewing he's frothing at the bit right now. You telling us?
He's good. I know.
He is ready to tell us, because I tell you what, people, this just goes to show you that this poor guy has gone through so much, man. So much.
All of our stories has been bullshit. It's been corruption, lying, manipulation. It's destroyed parts of our lives. We're having to rebuild things, and it's all, the problem is it should have never happened because the state should have never got involved. And when they refuse to look at other evidence and everything else, or they get to pick and choose, that's not the way the law works. The idea is put everything on the table. Let's go with the facts, and that's going to lead the way. That's not the case in our judicial branch anymore, and it needs to be corrected, which is why I would suggest something like AI, because there's no emotions in AI. You input what you want it to do. It has full access and resource in a millisecond to access all the laws and make sure that it's done and held right. And then it can print a report as summation based off of everything else, just off of case law. And if it needs to be appealed past those logic with no feeling, appeal it and go to a higher court that has humans. Great. But I think AI is going to eliminate a lot of that shit on whether or not it's legal or not. Matter of fact, a couple of cops ought to take, and police officers ought to ask some questions, and CPS workers. Hey, here's one for you. Find you an AI program. Tell it to turn around and be a constitutional judge or a federal judge, and ask it whether or not you have the right to come into somebody's home. That whole thing, the whole thing with entry, without a court order, a warrant, or an emergency. You can even ask that motherfucker what an emergency is defined as under federal case law. Oh, I know you was looking at it, you typing right away. I done sent you all down rabbit holes. Go ahead, have at it.
Well, put your answers in the things underneath here.
Yeah, let's see what you guys are doing.
See what you guys got. Yeah.
Tell it to be a federal, the best federal court judge, constitutional judge. You have constitutional, and ask it its question as a government employee, state, federal, it doesn't matter, elected or appointed official or actor. Do I have the right to enter a private residence without a warrant, a court order, or an emergency? In other words, I can't be, the question then becomes down to, can I, then you ask it again, can I show up and knock on their door as a government employee with no warrant, court order, or emergency? Am I allowed entry into that home? It's going to turn around and tell you, well, according to this case law, no, you can't. Matter of fact, it's a Fourth Amendment violation. And now your eyes are going to open. So guess what? I'm going to let you use technology, you caseworkers and people that work for CPS. Go ahead. I fucking dare you. And love the answer, because what you're going to get back is going, I've been committing felonies. Welcome to the part where they get to blackmail you now to continue to do what you do. And you get to see then the dark side, because now you're part of it. That's how this works. You get a raise, you get a promotion. You know how it works. But we have to keep it quiet, because if we're exposed, you're exposed. Now you lost everything. And I think we had a caseworker on here at one time that was a single mom. A single mom. What happens now when you have committed this felony, a federal crime? And you're automatically picked up. That's 7 to 10 years plus $50,000 minimum for the first offense. You're going to prison. Guess who gets your children now? They have double stacked their bed in insurance, especially with the people they hire. Now that you're on the other side to your kids, now you're going to find out what everybody was going through, and you're doing time because they're coming for your kids.
Man, I'll tell you. I will freaking tell you.
So it comes up to it. And when you start asking it, there's no reason logic. It has a full database of every case that's digital, court ruling, everything else, applies it. And you're telling it to be a judge with those particular things. And based off of federal case law, you can ask it whether or not you're going to get in trouble. Go ahead. Judges, go ahead and ask the questions of everything else on some of the things you've ruled on. You're screwed. And now you're running scared. You're running scared because now you have an answer. And you can even ask it based, as if it won't come up like that, ask it, say, AI, I want you to be a licensed in the state of so-and-so and have a license for the state of this and federal license to practice law. You can turn around and have it take and write up your court cases and help you with motions and all sorts of other things with this. But you can ask it flat out, and it don't care about your fucking feelings. It's going to look at the case law. It's going to look at the justification for it, and it's going to pull up what logic says with no feelings. And you're going to find out that's law. Law doesn't have feelings. It's never supposed to. We're never supposed to pass a law based on our feelings.
That's why the whole Chevron thing is so important, because it's supposed to be, the courts are supposed to rule by the law, not by the recommendations or the feelings of other things. It's supposed to be based solely on facts, the law.
And if you don't have case law, well, then you're going to create case law. And you know what that means for that judge? More fucking homework to do your fucking job. I'm going to render my decision later. Let me go back and look at all this.
Yeah, or they're going to sit there and say, oh, wow, look I get to be the judge that leads the way in this case. Like, we're going to be in our stuff that we're doing.
Oh, there's a lot of judges that set precedents. And a lot of the federal judges back up federal judges. Very, very seldom, unless it's blatant, the SCOTUS overturn a thing. And you better have one hell of a fucking argument and bulletproof. Yeah, so you're going to see a lot of case law here in the next little bit, and they're doing it now. They're flipping cases left and right, like SEC versus Jarsky. All those cases now they're flipping, overturned. No, this is what it is. Now we're filing this case. Why? Chevron was overturned. That led to SEC versus Jarsky. Huge case for the 7th Amendment. Other cases that are coming out left and right. I mean, even using some of the other one, Marbury versus Madison. Quite a few of those other cases that are out there that they're using these things of saying, guys, this is already well-established case law. Why didn't we follow the case law? It's because they believe they were professionals, and under the Chevron doctrine, they didn't have to. Well, That's when you had to learn to argue, which is why Rooker versus Feldman is going to fall, because of Rooker versus Feldman, under that case law, you're allowing criminal activity to go on. That's why that case will get overturned. That's the evidence we're going to bring right up against you. Your Honor, we'd like to challenge it as well, that particular ruling. If they want to have it, we want to challenge it. Why? Because of that protection that court case is given, or that particular, obstacle you have to overcome, constitutional rights are being violated. And they're doing it blatantly, and here's the proof. That's what we're coming after CPS with. You're done. And the FBI and the DOJ already have it. They're just waiting on us, me especially, to file your civil case. Because now they're watching. And that's what we're working on, because it's so, and Darren will tell you, it's so multi-level, this big case. It's not nothing you just write something up real fast and put out there. You have to cover all bases, quote as much federal case law as you can, expose as much as you can, and the idea is evidence. It's not what you think in a court, it's what you can prove. That's
right. What you know is what you can prove. Oh, Brenda.
I can this, and that's where we go publicly of saying some things. Our mouths have not been put in check to run our mouths about checking the facts, and we go spreading what's called the scuttlebutt or rumors or bullshit. You can actually be held in a court of law liable civilly for defamation of character. And there's two different terms that I can't think of. One of them is written, the other one is spoken. When it comes to that defamation suit, there's multifaceted. One is print, the other is verbal and overheard. So if you had somebody say something in your case, like somebody that misrepresented themselves, told a lie, a flat out lie, and there's no evidence to support it, it should have never made it into court. That's called defamation of character, and you can hold people accountable for that. It doesn't matter if you're some people say, well, I've had family members lie on me and this, that. Well, good, get the evidence. And you hold them accountable, because giving false information to any state employee or court official is considered a felony in that state. It doesn't matter. So if you're giving federal things and you get caught up in your case, and finally you get cleared, you make sure you go after those people that accuse you of that shit, and you press the criminal charges on them, both state and federal. Hold them fucking accountable, because now you're looking at conspiracy. That's the one thing that FBI wants is RICO. 2 or more people collaborating together to cause you harm. That's called a RICO case. Well, once again, those local courts don't. That's why I said you can file it. You can file it with your state. You can ask for a change of venue in your state. You can go to any other court in the state if you give a change of venue. If you feel like there's more justice in another county, you can move it to another county because of what they're not doing. Now, that's where you would go with if you wanted to do a change of jurisdiction, you would do your writ that you would have the federal take and look it over, basically similar to what you could have happen in a change of jurisdiction is a writ of review. You ask them to come back on, roger that, man. A writ of review means the federal judge looks over your case on any federal things for it. You should be doing that instead of review. You should have had that done with a change of jurisdiction in your court case. That's where trial and error happens. And if you don't know how the system works, that's how you get to it. But you need that change of jurisdiction because you have federal questions or constitutional questions. That court doesn't have jurisdiction to answer them, and they're not supposed to breeze open them. You're not. Matter of fact, it was that judge's responsibility, as well as everybody in that courtroom, to defend the Constitution and go, whoa, we need to stop, even if it's family court. We have constitutional issues that directly pertain to this case, such as illegal entry, which means anything in this court case is considered fruit from a poisonous tree. If that's happened, illegal entry, everything gets thrown out. You have no case. There's no case, and they can't bring it up against you again. That's the whole thing. Double jeopardy does apply. They could come back at it with new evidence or something else with it or something like that, and that goes both ways. So if you have a case that's 10, 15 years old and you find out all these things happen to you, that's why those federal case laws are considered retroactive. Even if it happened 20, 30 years ago, you can still go back and sue. You can still go back and sue if you were a child involved in child trafficking or taken from your parents, or CPS got into stuff because you found out it was lies later. And they just turn around, well, we made a mistake. No, you take them to fucking court and hold them accountable for their errors. That's why. Because then they'll think fucking twice before doing some of the shit they do. There's the problem. They haven't had enough cases going back at them. Because every time people try to do stuff, you even have people, well, this is going on, they're kidnapped. We need to hide them out in other states. I mean, you've got people doing that stuff like an underground railroad for CPS on I'm aware of a couple places that are doing that. It's kind of fucked up. I mean, I've heard of a lot of it. People in the middle of a court case are trying to take, next thing you know, they're out of jurisdiction, they're moved out of state. And people are doing that. Oh, you're hiding people that are doing that. No, you're trying to stop a corrupt fucking system because they're not getting a fair anything. And the Constitution is not being followed anywhere in these family court cases. And they have got a case law that prevents them with Rooker versus Feldman that insulates them, that you can't, and the federal court can't get involved in family court cases. Why? If constitutional rights are, you're damn right they can. But you've got to argue the point and do it. And you don't need that lower court's permission. You can tell the lower court to kiss your ass. I'm changing jurisdiction based off of this. And if it's a constitutional issue, they can't argue they have jurisdiction over it. To do so, they're in big trouble, and they find out that federal judge finds out saying, well, I'll make that decision, or trying to roll over a federal judge. They'll put sanctions on them real fast. Federal judge will. Oh, no, you don't have jurisdiction, motherfucker. You can't ask that question. You can't answer that question. You're done. You're in the big boy plan. So that's why we had that conversation. You got to go get permission from Big Brother to do anything, and the state courts hate that. But that's the way it's designed to be. That's the way it was designed to be. But they don't do it. They don't even follow their own procedures. You got a constitution. We need to stop. We need to get a change of jurisdiction, and we all that opens it up. I've got questions. There are good judges will say, I've got questions for a federal judge that I don't have jurisdiction to ask. We need to do a change of venue, and we'll all put our questions together. That's a good judge trying to be fair. Plaintiff, defendant, you both need to have your questions ready that are dealing with nothing but federal or constitutional issues, and those questions need to do that. And I will take those. They're not recommendations. They're guidelines they're sending down. So, well, guys, that we're kind of wrapping up on our show here. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. Check us out for the late show.
You're gonna be there tonight, right, Gunner?
Yeah, we're going to be rolling some things out tonight. Can you think of canoe? I don't know. Nice swimming.
Hey, Gunner, I wrote this prayer. I've been working on this for a couple of days. I'm gonna end this show with that prayer. You cool with that?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. If you're not religious and you don't want to hear it, you can go ahead and sign out. But if you want to, we're going to end it with this prayer right here. Hold on a second. Let me get this.
We're going to exercise our constitutional rights. And Here's the thing. Here's your constitutional right to walk away or disconnect at this any time. And if you think you're hurting somebody's feelings, there's your first mistake, because it ain't hurting our feelings. Either you want it or not. There's your personal choice. Make your decision. Grow up. Be accountable. And there it comes down to it. Accountability. Hey, we can agree to disagree. No love lost, but we can agree on some things. That CPS is corrupt. It needs to come down. You got different methods to get the same thing. Perspective. Have at it, Darren. Let's wrap us up.
All right. You ready? Holy and righteous God, you are the Lord of hosts, the judge of all the earth and the defender of the weak. You reign in justice and power, and your world declares, for I, the Lord, love justice. I hate robbery and wrongdoing. In my faithfulness, I will reward my people and make an everlasting covenant with them. Isaiah 61:8. Yet, Lord, we come before you grieving, anguished, and desperate, for we have witnessed in the devastation of families ripped apart by injustice. Father, we cry out to you for the parents whose hearts have been shattered, whose children have been taken from their arms. We cry for the little ones who wander lost in the system, their innocence crushed, their trust betrayed. We see the destruction wrought by corruption, selfish ambition, and apathy, and we know that your heart burns with righteous anger. Your word says, cursed is the one who withholds justice from the foreigner, the fatherless, or the widow. And we tremble before you, holy wrath. Lord, how long will you allow this suffering to continue? How long will the cries of the brokenhearted go unanswered? You see the injustice, the lies, and the abuse of power. You see the greed that prioritizes profit over the people. You see the oppression of the helpless, and you have declared, woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees. Rise up, O God, and let your justice flow like a mighty river. But Lord, in your anger, remember mercy. We are broken people, sinful and prone to wander, yet we plead for your compassion. You have said, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but rather that they turn from their ways and live. For those who have caused harm, whether through malice or negligence, bring them to the repentance. O Lord, break their hearts of stone and replace them with hearts of flesh. Open their eyes to the devastation they have caused and lead them to seek forgiveness and make things right. Father, we pray for the children, those who feel abandoned, unloved, and forgotten. You see their tears, you hear their cries, and you hold their pain in your hands. Your word declares, do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner, for you were foreigners in Egypt. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If you do, they cry out to me, and I will certainly hear their cry. Hear their cries, O God. Be their refuge and shield, their protector and their comforter. Remind them that they are not forgotten, for you have engraved their names in the palms of your hand. We pray for the parents, Lord, who have been crushed under the weight of injustice. Some have been falsely accused, others powerless against a system too vast to fight. They are desperate, angry, and broken, yet you are the God who binds up the wounds of the brokenhearted. Draw near to them, Lord, restore their hope, restore their faith, and if this is within you, your will, restore their families. And Father, we pray for the system itself. Where there is corruption, expose it. Where there is indifference, replace it with compassion. Where there is bureaucracy and the value numbers over lives, bring transformation. Shake the foundation of these institutions, Lord, until they align with your heart for justice and mercy. You are the God who brings princes to naught and reduces the rulers of this world to nothing. Bring down every power that opposes your will and raise up those who will fight for the oppressed and defend the helpless. We also confess, Lord, our complicity. Too often we have turned a blind eye to the suffering around us. Too often we have remained silent in the face of injustice. Forgive us, O God, and stir us to action. Make us instruments of your peace, your justice, your mercy in a world that so desperately needs you. Finally, Lord, we pray for your kingdom to come, for the day when you will wipe away every tear, when you will heal every wound, and when you will make all things new. Until that day, give us the strength to preserve, the courage to speak out, and the faith to trust in your promises you have declared. The Lord works in righteousness and justice for all the oppressed, and we cling to this truth in all of our hearts. In the name of Jesus Christ, who suffered injustice to redeem us, amen. All right, guys, we'll see you all at the 9 o'clock show. And that is only in 28 minutes. So until that moment, we will catch you all then. Gunner, I'll see you at 9 o'clock, buddy.
Roger that, my friend. You guys join us then, and we'll continue some things on. We've got some big plans and a lot of other things coming out, so just stay tuned, especially after the first of the year. Understand that if we're busy and you can't get a hold of us, trust me, that just means we're working on something, and we're working on something big. So,
Yes,
guys,
sir.
be blessed, stay safe, and remember, prayers are one thing, but action is always required after that prayer for you to do something for yourself.
Hell yeah. All right. We'll see you guys later on.
Sorry if it seems a bit boring, but these are stories of fathers whose lives are being destroyed way too early. It all started when I opened my mouth, complained about a stupid mistake. I knew better than to have more to say. I did it anyway. I'm a father and a husband. I'm no longer trusted. They have taken away the things I hold dear, making me realize my biggest fear. The foundation, it has crumbled. Now there is tears where there was muscles. So now I waste away, missing my daughter as she plays. I am guilty of nothing. When I was a dad, I was something. These people passing judgment have no right to say I'm a bad father, get away. This place no longer for you to stay. I don't wanna see you here, never again will I hear. Hey daddy, come play with me. I need you to make some tea. I shed a tear looking at her smile. I won't see for a while. Now as days pass by, the tears have dried from my eyes. All that's left is the memories of that beautiful smile. So thank you for passing judgment. You people don't know nothing. To that little girl I was something, and you took it all away. So thank you for passing judgment. You people don't know nothing. To that little girl I was something, and you took it all away. Now my baby is grown up. Those people messed things up. I lost life's miracles there behind, with just a picture to remind me. So now I waste away, missing my daughter as she plays. I am guilty of nothing. When I was a dad, I was something. These people passing judgment and have no right to say I'm a bad father, get away. This place no longer for you to stay. I don't want to see you here, never again will I hear. Hey daddy, come play with me. I need you to make some tea. I shed a tear looking at her smile. I won't see for a while. Now as days pass by, the tears have dried from my eyes. All that's left is the memories of that beautiful smile. So thank you for passing judgment. You people don't know nothing. To that little girl I was something, and you took it all away. So thank you for passing judgment. You people don't know nothing. To that little girl I was something, and you took it all away. Now my baby is grown up. Those people messed things up. I lost life's miracles there behind, but just a picture to remind me. Oh, now my baby is grown up. Those people messed things up. I lost life's miracles.
Imagine being a child who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stopped the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scrape their knees. Now just imagine how they must feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calm. They are confused, lost, panicked, and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children is supposed to look?